Welcome back to Tech Tuesday on All Sides. I'm your host, Ann Fisher. For millions of students, the phrase back to school 2020 means back to the kitchen table or back to a desk in the dormitory. Remote learning has a host of challenges for the student and teacher, not the least of which is how to set up your school office. A university professor who's also taught at the preschool and elementary level provides some tips. Warren Lightner is an educational psychologist who reviews children's interactive media. He's the founding editor of Children's Technology Review. He's also an assistant professor at the College of New Jersey's Interactive Multimedia Program. Welcome back, Warren Lightner.
Hey, Ann, it's good to talk with you.
You too. You've been teaching remotely. What have you learned over these last few months about what teachers can do to set up their stations?
Well, I was just teaching 5 minutes ago, and I told my students are really happy because they got out early so I could talk with you. The last thing I did, I said, I'm going to be talking with you, Ann, and I said, what should I tell people? And they said, now this is from college students, stop giving me chores. Mom and Dad, I'm at school. I'm not at home. Oh. It's a different thing. You gotta give me my space and let me, be at school even though I'm at home. So that was the one thing they wanted me to tell everybody.
Okay. Okay. It's interesting.
Yeah.
What about teachers? I mean, what does your teaching station look like?
Well, I'm on Zoom right now. This is the first time we've ever used Zoom, and I have thought quite a bit about it. I've moved from Georgia, so now I'm back in New Jersey.
Okay.
So I had a chance to actually set up a station. I thought about light. I also invested in a Yeti Blue microphone. It's a USB microphone that's about $120. And I've noticed being on faculty meetings and everything that audio is very important. And so, think about, I think it's smart to think about, the quality of that sound. I hope I sound okay right now.
You sound really good. I wish everybody sounded this good.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm glad. Usually I talk with you, on a regular, headset.
Right.
I do think most computers have fairly good microphones and you can get by. So you don't need to go spend a lot of money, but that's something to think about. The other thing is lighting. There's some things that students do that drive me crazy, such as they don't show their faces and they never get off mute. And I think that if you're in a class, you should unmute yourself unless your dog's barking or whatever. And because you get that feedback, you feel like you're in a classroom. And otherwise, you kind of feel like you're in a helmet and you're just talking to no one. So, think about your background. And there's a lot of suggestions for that. But another common mistake that I see a lot of other faculty doing is they hold the laptop in their lap. And so you got this sort of neck view of the person and it's moving around all the time. So I think it's important to have your laptop and your camera at eye level on a platform that's pretty stationary. Now, I use a music stand for mine, and that lets me move. If I want to show something, I can pivot very quickly. I'm doing it now. I don't know if anyone can see it, but I can show stuff if I want. And, I also have an adjustable chair, so I can it gives me a lot of options.
Now, what you do for a workstation is different than what, say, a kid in kindergarten would do, right?
I hope so.
So what does a station look like for, let's just say preschool or kindergarten, early, first, second, third grade?
Well, I'm putting on my early childhood. I still have all my certifications, but I'm thinking about my grandchild now, and so.
Well, you're missing your grandchild, I imagine.
I am really missing
who's
that.
In Georgia, that's where you were weasel. For a long time. Yeah.
The key there is to have a routine. So have a space that is a school space, and that's something my college students also said is have a nook or a place so that when you're on, in quote school, you sort of get used to that's where you go, and it's time to it's time to be in school. And I think that for younger children, a routine is really critical. Once they get used to the routine, and this is the first week of September, so it's a time to set up that routine and sort of stick to it. And I was going to suggest another high-tech approach is to use your smart speaker to help give you reminders. So 10 minutes until school. So I've got, I don't want to say the name because it'll go off, but I've got both the Google and the Amazon smart speakers.
And you use them yourself?
I use them. I set timers. Like I just told the class, let's take 10 minutes. And so I let the smart speaker tell us all what to do. But you can, if you use Google Calendar, which many people do and our school uses, I have all my class schedules in my smart speaker. So it actually tells me when, 10 minutes you need to get on. And so, you can sort of program, we talk about programming a lot. You can program your life in a way with these devices to it's like a GPS for your time. You can use your Google Calendar, sort of let your smart speaker help you, talk you through the day. And that can really help with a child, kind of let them settle in and increase the chances of success. So
it gives them I think a little bit more autonomy. They can listen to the they can be prompted. They don't always have to have mom or dad or somebody there telling them where to go and what to do.
Yeah, and they'll listen to the speaker a lot more than they'll ever listen to you. That's just a reality.
You're listening to Tech Tuesday on All Sides with Ann Fisher, and we are talking about how to set up that workstation for classroom. My guest is Warren Bucklightner, educational psychologist. He reviews children's interactive media. He's an assistant professor at the College of New Jersey's Interactive Multimedia Program. You wanted to talk about a tech list for the, as you call it, the semester of the pandemic, which I think is a kind of poetic way to put it. And what kind of tech, like say preschool, school age, high school, and college should have. So what about preschools? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I've written this piece every year for the past 25, 30 years now. It's the back to school tech list. And this is the semester of the pandemic. So for preschool and for younger, like my grandchild, I really believe in having an iPad, and I like iPads. They're about $400 now. They're the best tablet for app access, and you set it up with a foam case. So and then about 20 good quality paid apps, and that's going to set you back about $40. They're about $2 each, and things like My Very Hungry Caterpillar. We've talked about the apps, but what you want to do is increase the chances that I call them accidental good choices, so that iPad turns into something that's rich and stimulating as opposed to just watching a video or filling time. And so you have to do some work to do the research to find those apps and make sure that they're at your child's level and that they present a challenge and actually get them thinking. Another thing is use that they'll love to. My grandson loves to do FaceTime and any kind of like video messaging with relatives and so on. That's become I'm sure we're all going through that right now. Almost an essential part of staying connected. And he does it. I mean, he knows how to use a smartphone or a tablet to talk to me, and we do peekaboo and all kinds of things. So, the camera, it's more than just a tablet. It's a connected device, and they'll use it for that.
School age, you say introduce a variety of devices to your child. Make sure they're quote unquote bilingual. That means both Mac and Windows, or iOS and Android, and have a backup laptop and or Chromebook just in case. Why is that?
So Chromebooks are really cheap and powerful, and they're great at getting online, and they're also very reliable. They have solid state drives. Many of them have touchscreens now and can also double as Android devices. So um, if something doesn't work, it's good to have a backup. And the other suggestion is, if you're dealing with school right now, talk to your school. So talk to your child's professors or their teachers and ask them, what kind of technology would you recommend, and start with that. And so anyway, Chromebooks are great. And my favorite laptop, and I think every child needs a laptop, a reliable laptop. We want children to struggle with the right things and not the hardware things. So both my daughters, I made a point to give them both Windows and Macintosh devices, and they all had different kinds of phones, so they can use technology. So help them to experiment and try out a lot of different kinds of digital devices, including smart speakers and so on, so that they're fluent with the skill set, so that increases their chances of success. But my favorite laptop is a MacBook Air. They're about $900 now, and they're workhorses, and they won't let you down. And then have a Chromebook as well, just for anybody, just in case.
So as you're going into high school, you talk about if the child is college bound, or in whatever field they're going into, if it's going to require a computer, they start to think about that in their senior year, so they get...
Yeah. So here's the logic. You're about to spend $15,000 a semester on a college, right? Mm. Why don't you spend $900 the year before college, so that they're comfortable with the device that will, it's the most important device they could ever have, so that they can learn it. Because the first year of college, you drop them off in the dorm, they have so many new things at them. You don't want them taking a new laptop out of the box, figuring stuff out, right? So get it their junior year, like right now, so that they have a chance to actually learn and become fluent, with that device. So I did that for both my daughters. It was a good move. I'm really glad I did. And they entered college with a good workhorse laptop that would get them online and get their assignments done. Now, the reason I'm saying that now, I'm putting on my professor hat. I have students who are always struggling with their hardware, and it's terrible. I feel their pain, or they miss assignments, right? Because they can't either get online or something happens. You want to clear that stuff out of the way, so that, to increase the chances that they can produce a video, or they can, do something that's more than just typing an essay.
You talked about some other things that I think are important. A Zoom-friendly spot, and we've all kind of figured out where that is. But for a child, why is it important?
That came up for my students. A quiet spot, where, like a bedroom, or in some cases a closet, so you can focus, and it's also predictable. Everything's there. You just go in, turn it on, and you're on. So you have to plan for that. It just doesn't happen accidentally. And so, having a chair that's comfortable, and, I've got my coffee and the stuff that I kind of need. The lighting is important, because looks do count in this thing. Listen, when you're in a Zoom session, one of the worst things you can do is not show your face and hide. Professors hate that. I'm just going to tell you, if you want to get a good grade, show up 5 minutes early. Say hi to your professors, lean into your lessons. It's the equivalent of coming in, sitting in the front row. It's also a little pro tip here, is it's a great way to bond with your teacher, because the other students aren't on yet, and you can say, hi, how can you hear me, and all that. That kind of stuff counts. And so it's a good life lesson.
I guess maybe it's the equivalent of sitting in the front row.
Exactly. You're sitting in the digital front row, and you're ready to go. You've got eye contact, good clear voice. It makes a difference.
And you can ask questions too. That's probably feels odd, but you can do it.
Yep. And another little pro tip for teachers is make one of the students the co-moderator, because they can do things like record. They can then handle the recording if you trust them.
Yeah. Okay. You mean like do the Q&A thing, the outs, that off.
Right. Yeah. Right. They, like, my students know that they know how to use this stuff, and they teach me a lot, but probably not a good idea for a kindergarten teacher to do this. But make the space, like your classroom, the student space, so that they, give them ownership, so they can control it. Also, get the chat going and the back channel, and kind of moderate it so that you can use that as another way to communicate. These things don't come overnight. It's like you got to get used to them, and don't worry, it comes. But these are new skills that we all have to learn.
You just reminded me of the AV geeks, the guys that, and it was typically guys that, did all the audio visual and toted it around the school, the equipment, back in the olden days, of course.
In the olden days.
Yeah, in the way olden days. So, and then you say, rather than hide it, share your home life. And I think this is a really cool thing that people are doing. Don't be, if your dog barks, you can eventually mute it, but you've got a dog there. Pull in your family dog.
Introduce your dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was down in Georgia, my grandson would come in, put on my reading glasses, and crawl up in my lap, and he loved to just look at all the little faces. And I could have tried to fight it, but why? It's part of it. Now, on the other side of that, I think it's important to note that all the professors at TCNJ added something to the syllabus about recording sessions. And now the new norm is anything in a class is probably recorded. So you want to make sure the student, I start not every class, but every semester, saying these sessions are recorded. So just be aware of that. And I also give them the right to say, hey, could you turn off the recording? So I want to have a frank discussion. And there's some trust involved there, but this is something that, we have to get used to. And you might want to just bomb-proof your background and make sure that you don't have all your passwords on a bulletin board right behind you.
Right. Or, as you said, don't have a bottle of gin on the table behind you.
Yeah, right. I mean,
put away the bong.
You want to think about that a little bit. And, there's a lot of, just start your camera up and have a look at, have a good look at stuff. And remember that you may see yourself in a little thumbnail, but the people listening to you might see a big 4K screen. They can actually see stuff. So be careful, and, make sure that if you're sensitive about your location and so on, that, you have to be aware of those things.
Warren, I was among those people that have always been worried about remote classrooms before the pandemic. It was getting to be a thing, remote learning, that kind of a thing. The pandemic has, like in so many other areas, is kind of accelerated this change. And do you think, what's your sense after 5 months or 6 months or whatever it's been, I've lost count, how people are adapting with technology?
Well, I know for our department, which is we work with interactive design at the College of New Jersey, that we're really excited. And I think because we recognize that our class, the way we teach will never be the same. And in a lot of good ways, like I'm pulling in a backpacker into my next senior thesis session by Zoom. And I can bring in experts and outside voices so much easier. And all of our classrooms now, physical classrooms have been retrofitted for what's called the hybrid model, or the basically every session, even if it's physical, will be on on Zoom and recorded for students who can't be there physically. So I think there's a lot of really good things. It took one little tiny microorganism to accomplish what 20 years of in-service couldn't do. And all of a sudden, every teacher it was sink or swim, of course, in March. But I think most teachers are who went into teaching because they love pedagogy and making a difference, are like understanding the potential of this medium and minimizing the weaknesses. But I speak for myself and I can't wait to get back. There's no replacing that, the human contact.
Another thing that it accelerated that I've been delighted about is connectivity and getting households and taking really seriously the issue with rural areas and disconnected areas and getting them online.
Yeah, and thinking about the new Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which includes Wi-Fi along with toilet paper and whatever. We talked about that last time. It's critical. And, if you look at the politics of what's going on in the protests, a lot of people are disenfranchised because they don't have the lower levels of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It doesn't matter what ethnicity or, anything else you are. It's that if you don't have those basic needs right now in the pandemic, you're feeling some major stress. You can't make a living, right? And so I have a lot to be thankful for because I've got decent Wi-Fi and I know how to use it and I can make a living. A lot of people don't have that.
Warren Buck Lightner, always a pleasure. Thanks so much for your time today.
And it's great to do our first ever Zoom session.
One of many. Warren Buck Lightner, educational psychologist. He reviews children's interactive media. He's an assistant professor at the College of New Jersey's Interactive Multimedia Program. And by the way, he's founding editor of Children's Technology Review, and we'll have a link to that on our website at wosu.org/allsides. There's more Tech Tuesday coming up, so stay with us. This is All Sides with Dan Fisher on 89.7 NPR News.